Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Love from Lizi's November 2024 card kit called Winter Warmers. This is a beautiful kit. I love the fun colors and designs. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available. And if you are interested in purchasing the kit or subscribing, I do have links in the description box below. I have lots of cards to share using this beautiful kit. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. For this card, I selected 2 pattern papers and I cut them out using die sets from Love from Lizi. I have the stitched rectangle dies and also this stitched postage rectangle die set. I'm also using 2 of the specialty cardstocks, and these are add-on purchases. This first card has lots of layers, pattern paper, and specialty cardstock. The top layer I use pattern paper. It's almost as solid. It has a very slight watercolor look, and I cut that out using the stitched rectangle dies. I'll adhere it on some glitter cardstock. This glitter is all sealed so it doesn't make a mess. I put ATG tape on the back of the pattern paper rectangle and also some Barely Art glue. Since I am adhering it on specialty cardstock, it never hurts to have extra adhesive. Then I'll add the first 2 layers on the postage edge rectangle die cut. And you'll only see that very outside postage edge portion. I'm covering up the faux stitch design. Then I'll add those 3 layers on the final layer, which I use some silver satin mirror cardstock. I selected 5 of the sugar cookie ephemera pieces, and I'll be adding all 5 of the cookies on the blue layer. Decided to glue them down directly instead of popping them up. I'll start with the star in the upper left-hand corner, then there's a candy cane, a Christmas tree, another star, and I'll adhere it in the lower right-hand corner so it's opposite the first star, and then finally a Christmas stocking. For a sentiment, I'll be adding the word joy, and this is from Love from Lizi's Joy die set. It includes 2 snowflakes and the sentiment joy. I cut out the sentiment from some red cardstock, and I did cut out 4 of the joy words, glued them all together, and it gives this sentiment more dimension without trying to add foam behind it. I'll put Barely Art glue on the back and adhere this sentiment on top of this star cookie in the lower right-hand corner. For embellishments, I'm using Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the mini twinkle style in silver mirror. I'll put 3 in the lower right-hand corner and 2 in the upper left-hand corner. So there is my finished card. I did make 2 using this design. The other card features snowflake ephemera, and I stamped the sentiment Burr in the center. The pink solid on the snowflake card is more pattern paper from the kit. Now moving on to card design number 2. I will be using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Sketch Saturday. It's number 552. I selected 3 pattern papers. The very background, I'm using this lovely floral design. For the narrow strip on the left side, using some of the solid pink, and this is the same pink I used on the first set of cards. And the other pattern paper is a tone-on-tone pine branch design. I'll layer the background and the pine branch piece on some dark green cardstock, and this is cardstock from my stash. The card kit does include some solid cardstock, but I always bring in additional cardstock since I love adding layers to my cards. After adhering the pink strip on the left side, I'm adding this snowflake border ephemera piece on top, and I think it gives the card a fun wintry detail. The floral paper doesn't have snowflakes or anything that's winter related, so you could use this year-round. Doesn't have to be a winter or Christmas card. Next, I'll add the pine branch piece, but before adhering it down, I'll first add some scrap cardstock pieces behind it on the right side. That way it stays at the same level. Then I'll put Barely Art glue on the back and adhere this piece in place. I've already gone ahead and stamped and cut out the sentiment, "Let's get cozy." I cut this out using Love from Lizi's Stitched Oval die set. And using the next larger size up, I cut out the dark green layer. I'll adhere the two ovals together, put glue on the back, add the sentiment on the pine branch layer. For embellishments, I'm adding 3 of the glitter foam snowflake pieces. They do have foam adhesive on the back. For 2 of them, I removed that foam piece since it adds a lot of extra dimension. But for the one in the upper right-hand corner, I am leaving that foam piece there. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 2. For card design number 3, the card sketch is from Mojo Monday. This is number 542. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, including measurements, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For the background of my card, I cut 2 strips of the green tone-on-tone plaid paper. Since I'll be covering up the very center, I didn't need to use a full sheet. I'll add both of those pieces on some dark blue cardstock, and this is cardstock from my stash. In the very center of the card, I'm using the blue paper with white snowflakes. Before adhering it down, I did put a scrap cardstock piece in the background. That way the snowflake piece stays nice and level. For a little bit of shine and separation between the 2 pattern paper designs, I'm adding some Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the pinstripe style in silver Moondust color. I'm using the widest width, and since I am covering up the very center, I was able to use some of the small scrap pieces. This is why you always save those leftover pieces of your peel-offs. You never know when you need just a tiny bit. For the strip that goes across the card, I am using some pattern paper. It's hard to see on the video, but it's white and it has a very light tan print. It looks like a knit design. Along the edge of that piece, I'll add more Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the sheet that's included in the kit. It's green and it has silver overlay on the edge, so it's super shiny. Before adhering this piece down, I'll add some scrap cardstock pieces on the right and left side, just in the areas where it goes over the snowflake pattern paper. Then I'll put adhesive on the back and adhere this piece in place. The pattern paper that's included in the kit is more like cardstock instead of paper, since it's a nice heavy weight. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Winter Kisses and Snowflake Wishes. I cut it out using a stitched circle die from Love from Lizi. Using the next size up, I cut out a green glitter circle. And this glitter paper is one of the add-ons from Love from Lizi. I'll layer it one more time on a scallop circle die cut. And this die set is from Jaded Blossom. Before adhering the scallop circle sentiment, I'll put a scrap cardstock piece behind it just on the upper area. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in place. I love the large size of the sentiment, perfect for some winter cards. For a little extra detail, I'll add one of the snowflake ephemera pieces, put it in the lower left-hand corner. Part of the snowflake will sit on the sentiment circle die cut, but the rest will go off of it, so I will pop it up using foam dimension. I was trying to readjust the ephemera piece since I noticed part of the snowflake was going off the edge of the card, but it was already stuck down with the foam. I think it'll still be fine and fit inside an A2 size envelope. Now I'll bring in some of the gem stickers that are included in the kit. There are 2 different sizes. Put 3 in the upper right hand corner and 1 small gem sticker in the center of the snowflake. The gem stickers do have adhesive on the back, but I also added just a tiny drop of Barely Art glue. Want to make sure they stay in place. Now moving on to card design number 4. The card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is Sugar Sketch number 35. And I selected this sketch specifically for the tag element, and you'll see why in a moment. For the background of my card, using some of the light green cardstock that's included in the kit, I'll be layering it on a darker green cardstock, and this color is also included in the kit. The blue and white polka dot paper was actually one of the 5x7 card bases included in the kit. I decided to cut it down since I don't make 5x7 sized cards. I did round the bottom two corners and also the top two corners of both of the pattern paper pieces. I'm layering them on some silver satin mirror cardstock, and this is part of one of the add-on bundles. I'll put adhesive on the back, add both of the blue and white polka dot panels on the light green cardstock background. Layer that piece on the darker green cardstock. Then I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For most of my cardstock layers, I add an additional 1/8 of an inch. For the narrow strip that goes across the card, using more of the darker green cardstock. And here's the tag I'll be adding on the card. This is included in the kit and it already has the snowflake punched out. I did stamp the Burr sentiment on the top of the tag. To give that snowflake a little bit of sparkle, I'm putting some of the glitter cardstock on the back side. And this glitter cardstock is from one of the add-ons. I'll put glue on the back, adhere that piece in place. Then I'll flip over the tag, put foam dimension on the back, and I'm using scrapbook.com's 1/4 inch foam in the 1mm thickness. I'll make sure to get good coverage, remove the release paper, and add the tag on the left side of the card, following the design of the card sketch. At the top of the tag, I'm adding one of the pre-tied ribbon bows that's included in the kit. To adhere it down, I'll put a small glue dot on the back side. In the very center of this snowflake, I'm adding one of the larger gem stickers. I'll add a small drop of Barely Art glue, then adhere the gem sticker in place. For a final finishing touch, I'll put some peel-offs in the upper right-hand corner, using the mini circle style in the silver mirror color, using 2 of the largest sizes and 1 medium-sized circle. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 4. For card design number 5, the card sketch is from OWH. This is sketch number 33. For the background of the card, using the light blue watercolor pattern paper, and I've already cut it out using the stitched rectangle dies. I'm adding 2 pattern paper strips. One is blue with white stars and the other has lots of lovely florals. For a little extra detail on the blue panel, I'm adding some Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the clear color with silver overlay in the pinstripe style. I'm using the medium and the narrowest width. I'll put 2 at the very bottom of the panel on the left side and 2 in the upper right-hand corner. Since you'll only see a small portion of the peel-offs, I'm using some of the leftover scraps. I'll wrap the end around the back, add this piece on some dark blue cardstock, and this is cardstock from my stash. Put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Now I'll add the 2 pattern paper strips. The blue and white star will go on the left side and the floral will go on the right side. I'll set aside the card and start working on the image and sentiment box. Using some white cardstock, I cut out a stitch square die cut using Love from Lizi's stitch square die set. I'll add some lovely snowflakes on the background, and all of the little snowflake images are included on the stamp set in the kit. I selected several of the snowflake and also some tiny twinkle star stamps, put them on an acrylic block. The ink color I'm using is Catherine Pooler's Tranquil. I'll stamp the images on the square die cut, and I'm rotating the block to get a very random pattern on the background. I'm doing the stamping on a cut down version of Scrapbook.com's Project Grip Mat. Now I'll layer this piece on a larger blue stitch square die cut. It's the next size up in the set. Love from Lizi has several nested stitch shape die sets available, lots of different shapes, and all of the sets include a ton of different sizes, so they're perfect for layering. I'll put glue on the back and adhere this square die cut on the center of the card. Now I'll set that aside. I cut out the winter hat from some Pearlescent light green cardstock, and this cardstock is included in one of the add-on sets. You could inlay all those tiny pieces, but instead I'm adding a piece of green glitter paper on the back side. So it'll still have all that sparkle, but I didn't have to mess with those teeny tiny pieces. I did place a couple of acrylic blocks on top for some added weight while the glue dried, since I am adhering two specialty cardstocks together. For a sentiment, I'm using one of the ephemera pieces. It has the sentiment Snow Days. I'll put glue on the back and adhere it at the bottom of the square die cuts, shifting it slightly to the right. I will pop up the winter hat using foam dimension. I'll make sure to get good coverage, remove the release paper, and add the winter hat above the sentiment. I'm also adding a snowflake ephemera piece on the left side of the sentiment. And I'll also pop that up with foam dimension, this time using some slightly thicker foam dimension, and this is from Love from Lizi. After adding the snowflake, I was looking at the white area behind the winter hat, and there were some gaps, so I decided to grab more of the teeny tiny snowflakes and twinkle star stamps, and I'll fill in those white areas. The tiny stamp images are perfect for creating your own pattern paper. And I love the itty bitty snowflakes and twinkle stars. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 5. I love how this card turned out. The winter hat die is included in the kit, and there's also a scarf die. Now moving on to card design number 6. The card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is sugar sketch number 4. For the background of my card, using the pattern paper that's white and it has a very light tan knit design on it. A little hard to see in the video. For the larger rectangle piece, using some of the lovely floral design with that dark black background. I'll round the upper right hand corner. I'm layering the background piece and the floral piece on black cardstock. And this is cardstock from my stash. I also rounded the cardstock corner. For this strip on the left side of the card, using a tone-on-tone pink design with diagonal stripes. Before adhering it down, I will put a scrap cardstock piece above and below where that floral panel is. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in place. For a little bit of shine, I'll add a Love from Lizi peel off along the edge of the pink stripe paper, using the clear with silver overlay in the pinstripe style. I have the medium width. After adding a peel off along the edge of that piece, I'll wrap the ends around the back, layer this piece on black cardstock, and the black cardstock layer for the very background is an additional 1/4 of an inch instead of the 1/8 of an inch that I usually add. Now I'll add my card front onto a card base. After adhering the card front down, I could see just a sliver of the white card base showing, and this is where my crafty OCD kicks in, so I did need to trim that off. I've already gone ahead and stamped and cut out the sentiment hello. This is included on Love from Lizi's Snap Happy stamp set that was included in a kit probably several years ago. And generally, Love from Lizi will offer the stamp sets that are included in the kit for sale individually. On the card sketch, there's a little flag bunting in the upper left-hand corner. I'm adding one of the flag bunting ephemera pieces that's included in the kit. I will pop up some of the areas using foam dimension, just not adding any foam in the area where it sits on the diagonal pink stripe paper. In that area, I'll add a small scrap piece of cardstock. I'll remove the release paper, put glue in that cardstock area, and adhere it in place. Now I'll add the sentiment underneath, and I did cut out the sentiment using a stitched oval die from Love from Lizi. In the lower right hand corner, I'll add a pink flower ephemera piece, and I did pop it up with foam dimension. For a final finishing touch, I'll put a few of the mini twinkle peel-offs around the sentiment. I'm using the silver mirror color. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 6. For card design number 7, I'll start off by using the stencil set that's included in the kit. It features 4 snowflakes in 4 different sizes. I'm using one of the smaller sizes. I have a piece of white cardstock, placed it in my mini stencil mat. I'll hold the stencil in place using some of Scrapbook.com's mint tape. The ink color is Tranquil by Catherine Pooler. It's the same color I used on a previous card. Now I'll cut out the snowflake using Love from Lizi's Stitch Circle die set. So there's the beautiful snowflake. I'll set that aside for now and start assembling the card. I am using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Mojo Monday. It's sketch number 558. This is one of my favorite sketches. You can feature several different pattern papers on one card. For the background, I selected 2 pattern papers, the green solid watercolor and some Christmas cookies with, I think it's little holly leaves and berries. I cut the 2 pieces at an angle. I'll add both of the pattern paper pieces on some dark green cardstock from my stash. There will be a slight gap between the 2 pattern papers, but that's okay. I'll clean up that area with a Love from Lizi peel-off. And I'm using the peel-off sheet that's included in the kit, the green with silver overlay. I used some of the scrap pieces since I will be covering up that area in the center. After adding my card front onto a card base, next I'll add a small panel, and this one features the pink and white gingham paper. I'll first layer it on the same dark green cardstock, adhere it on the left side of the card. For the narrow strip, using more of the solid watercolor pattern paper, a light tan color. On the back side of that piece, I've already adhered some scrap cardstock pieces. That way the top and bottom don't dip down over the pink and white gingham panel. Now I'll bring in the snowflake stenciled image. I first layered it on a dark blue stitch circle die cut. Before adhering it down, I am adding some scrap cardstock pieces on the right side. Putting one larger piece and then a tiny piece on the very right side where it goes over the pink and white gingham panel. For a sentiment, I'm adding the word joy. And I cut this out from some of the glitter paper. Put glue on the back and adhere it in the center of the snowflake. For a final finishing touch, I'll add more of the gem stickers. First putting that tiny drop of Barely Art glue. I'll put 3 of the gem stickers in the upper left-hand corner and 2 in the lower right-hand corner. When I cut my pattern paper pieces at an angle, I end up with another set. So I figured I would make an additional card, just reversing the 2 pattern paper pieces. Now moving on to card design number 8. The card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is Sugar Sketch number 19. I'm using the green tone-on-tone plaid paper for the background. For the wide strip on the left side of the card, features lots of fun winter images. I will round all 4 corners. Then I'll layer that piece on some dark green cardstock. Across the card, I'm adding a narrow strip of the pink tone-on-tone diagonal stripe paper. I'll adhere that strip down, and for a little bit of shine, I'll put a Love from Lizi peel-off along the edge, using more of the clear with silver overlay. And since I am covering up a fairly large area on that strip, I'm able to use some of the small scrap pieces. I'm using the medium width. I'll wrap the ends around the back, layer this piece on some dark green cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I always end up with lots of the peel-off scraps. So it's nice finding card designs where I can use up some of those small pieces. Next, I'll add the winter icon panel on the left side of the card. I've already stamped and cut out the sentiment, "'Tis the season to be freezin'." And I cut this out using Love from Lizi's Stitch Circle die set. I'll layer it on a dark green circle die cut. Before adhering that down, I will put some foam pieces on the very right side. I'm only adding them in the area of the circle that goes off of the winter icon panel. Remove the release paper, put glue on the back of the rest of the circle, and adhere it in place. Now I'll add several of the floral and foliage ephemera pieces. And I have all of those stored in one of Scrapbook.com's stack and sort trays. This is the smaller size. For the 3 flowers, I am popping them up with foam dimension. I'll add the blue flower down first, then the pink flower. Now I'll tuck the foliage pieces behind those 2 flowers, and I did tear off the end of the stem since it won't be visible. Now I'll add the final light blue flower. For final finishing touch, using more of the gem stickers, I'll put 3 in the upper right hand corner and 2 in the lower left hand corner. I'll first add a tiny drop of Barely Art glue, then adhere the gem stickers on top. Adding the glue is not necessary since there is adhesive on the back, but I've found plenty of cards in my stash missing bling, so I try to prevent that by using extra adhesive. Now moving on to card design number 9. The card sketch is from Sweet Sunday. This is number 224. I haven't used this sketch probably for a couple years, so I thought it would be fun to pull out and use again. For the background of my card, selected the pattern paper with lots of small squares in a variety of fun winter colors. For the large panel, using the blue with white stars, although it's actually more of an off-white color. I'll layer both of the pieces on some dark blue cardstock from my stash. I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. On the card sketch, there's a scallop border. Instead, I'm using a Love from Lizi peel-off. This is the sway design in the pink clear iridescent color. Although I could have just used some teeny tiny pieces, not sure why I wasn't thinking it through. Most of that area does get covered up. I'm using a craft knife to get a clean edge on the left side. On the card sketch, the image panel is a rectangle, but I am switching it to a square size. I use the light cream watercolor pattern paper, cut it out using a stitch square die, and I'll layer it on some dark blue cardstock. At the bottom of the image panel, there are 3 small banners. I selected 2 of the solid watercolors, and the larger banner is the pink tone-on-tone diagonal stripe paper. I'll cut a fishtail on the bottom of each of the pieces. Then I'll put adhesive on the back of the lower portion of the image panel. Then add those 3 banners. I'll add the 2 shorter solid banners first, then line up the longer banner. And I laid the 3 banners on the card. It helps to get the placement correct. Want to make sure they're even on the right and left side. On the back of the square, I am popping up just that top portion with some foam dimension. Then I'll put adhesive on the back of the rest of the square and adhere it in place. For a sentiment, I'm adding one of the ephemera pieces, Hot Cocoa Time, and I will pop it up using more foam dimension. I'll cut one of the foam strips in half, that way I can get solid coverage on the back of the ephemera piece. I'll adhere that piece first, and I am offsetting it slightly more on the right side. Now I'll add the 2 mug ephemera pieces. I know one of them is probably tea since it has the little tea bag hanging out. The other is cocoa, but they looked really cute together, so I am using both of them. I'll pop up both of them using more foam dimension. Then on the left side of the sentiment, I'm adding a blue foliage piece. And I will add some foam dimension behind it, just in the area where it goes off of that sentiment piece. For a final finishing touch, using more Love from Lizi peel-offs, this is the Mini Twinkle style in the silver mirror color. I'll put 3 in the upper left-hand corner and 2 in the lower right-hand corner. Love from Lizi's mini shape peel-offs are perfect to use as embellishments, and she has several different shapes available. The mini twinkles are one of my favorites. There's also mini circles, mini stars, and mini hearts. So there is my finished card. I think this one turned out really cute. I love the little mugs. Now moving on to card design number 10, and this is my final card design. The card sketch is from Sweet Sunday. This is number 264. For the background of my card, using some of the light green pearlescent cardstock and also the pink tone-on-tone diagonal stripe pattern paper. I'll add the green pearlescent panel down first, and above it I am adding a scrap piece of white cardstock. The pearlescent cardstock is fairly thick, so I want to make sure to add that scrap piece of cardstock before adding the pattern paper panel. Otherwise, the top portion will dip down. I'm layering the pieces on some dark blue cardstock. I'll cut the pattern paper piece at an angle, and I'm just using a pair of scissors. For the large banner, I use some of the green watercolor pattern paper, cut a fishtail, and before adhering it underneath the stripe pattern paper, I did trim off that top portion. For the 1-inch strip that goes across the card, using the blue with white star pattern paper, I'll adhere that piece down. Now I'll add some Love from Lizi peel-offs along the edge of the pink and white stripe paper. This is the silver Moondust color in pinstripe style, and I'm using the medium width. I'll use a craft knife to cut the right side. Along the edge of the blue and white star pattern paper, I'm using more of the clear with silver overlay. This time I'm using the narrowest width. So you really can't see any of the clear, it's basically just silver. I will be adding an ephemera image on the right side of the card, so I am able to use some of those small scrap peel-off pieces. Now I'll flip over this panel, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. The ephemera piece I selected is one of the larger foliage pieces, beautiful colors that match all of the pattern paper. I will be popping it up using foam dimension, and to help anchor it on the card, I'll be adhering the ephemera piece on a stitch circle die cut that I cut out of vellum. So I'll first add the ephemera piece on the vellum circle, then I'll flip over the circle, put glue on the back, making sure only to put it behind the ephemera piece. That way the glue doesn't show through on the vellum. Now I'll adhere it on the right side of the card. For this card, I decided not to add a sentiment. I'll leave it blank for now. Once I know who the card recipient will be, I'll put a sentiment on the inside. For a final finishing touch, using more of the gem stickers, this time just the smaller size, I'll put 2 in the upper left-hand corner and 3 on the right side underneath the ephemera image. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 10. Now here's another look at the 12 cards I made using Love from Lizi's November 2024 card kit called Winter Warmers. This is a beautiful kit. I love the colors and designs. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available. If you're interested in purchasing the kit or subscribing, I do have links in the description box below. This is a monthly kit, so quantities are always limited. The only way to guarantee receiving a kit is to sign up and subscribe, and I do have a link for subscribing listed below. Love from Lizi always offers fun and unique card kits, and they are packed full of crafty goodies. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.